Hello everyone, today I'm looking at Resident Evil Remake on the Nintendo GameCube from 2002. This is definitely one of the older remakes I can recall in terms of actually having a significant impact. You know, the graphical overhaul for this time was actually quite significant, and looking back, it actually made a lot of sense to remake the game, the Resident Evil series, on a slightly more powerful console. Of course, still here are the loading door screens of the original, but the atmosphere and the camera angles, well, the camera angles are basically the same, but the atmosphere, I think, actually has a big boost. I never actually played the original Resident Evil games, so this was actually my my only interaction with the original Resident Evil games outside of 4 and up. So unlike the later Resident Evil games, this one is definitely much more survival horror focused. You have a very limited camera, a limited map. A lot of it is based around puzzle solving, finding hidden gems and other little items that you can use as key items later in the game that you can combine with other things. And the entire mansion is essentially set up as one giant puzzle for you to go through. You can either play at the beginning of the game as Chris or Jill. When you start, you will have an abysmally low amount of ammo, and even throughout most of the game, you will still have that abysmally low amount until maybe the very end. Of course, getting the shotgun is always a tradition in this game, and I think stemming from other installments of the series, especially 7, you will have to basically replace the real shotgun with a fake broken shotgun on its mantelpiece in order to fool this trapdoor and extract it. The enemies in this game, you can aim up and down, and of course getting headshots, even though again it's somewhat unreliable and risky because you have limited ammo, does way more damage and also stops the zombies from being reanimated, which is also another big difference between this game and other Resident Evil games, is that once an enemy is down, because this game definitely incentivizes and is built around backtracking and finding keys and items and other ammo and stuff like that, downed enemies can actually revitalize and come back again, especially the redheads, I believe they're called. They essentially will come back with this red glow, and they'll be extremely dangerous, more so than when they were initially quote-unquote alive. Again, this game combines a lot of interesting, giant moving statues, pieces of, puzzles, things that don't necessarily make sense, and these very complex, contraptions within the hidden mansion, which, of course, underneath there is a secret laboratory. So it has that kind of classic, horror theme going for it, too, that you have this ostentatious wealth along with a very hidden secret. There's of course many things in this game where you will have to inspect certain items up close, and this will allow you to combine and extract certain things from it and really drive you to do more puzzle solving than you would general combat in this game, which is a huge difference between the later games. And I think the crossing over point and arguably the balance point was Resident Evil 4. So the basic story setup to this game, essentially Raccoon City, as the characters don't know yet, has been infected by zombies, by the infamous T-virus, and the special unit known as STARS has been dispatched to this manor on the outskirts of Raccoon City, in which they are there to contain a unknown threat in the Arklay Mountains. And so the team arrives and, of course, inevitably gets split up, and from there, the story kind of begins between uncovering the secret behind the mysterious company Umbrella, the manor outside of the city limits, and the secret family behind controlling most of the aspects of the events of the game. Of course, when the STARS members approach the manor, a series of rabid, wild, and zombified dogs chases them, leaving them trapped inside the manor and at the mercy of the other creatures on the premises. Very interestingly, the game will not limit itself to the manor alone, but including the greenhouse out back, the extensive forest behind the manor, and again, the labs and hidden rooms underneath, deep in the basement. Again, because this game uses tank controls, it's very difficult to aim and run away sometimes, which adds to the horror element that you feel very vulnerable in the environment. And of course, because your abilities to fight back are very limited. You do have 2 different countermeasures in this game, unlike the other games, which include the pocket knife and a flash grenade. Whereas if a zombie grabs you, you'll be able to use one of these items and use it as a retaliation against them and counter their attacks. However, they have obviously limited uses, and once they are out, you'll take the full damage regardless from the enemy combatants. Aside from the average zombies, there are also different strange biological mutant like animals in this game, which include things like zombie dogs. I forget what they're called exactly. Leapers, the giant frog-like things, or hunters rather, along with a variety of different other mutated animals, including a giant shark. Again, you kind of have to take track of, which doors have which emblems so that when you get the right key, you'll know where to go and to bring that item with you to unlock that door. Another big issue, of course, with this game, part of the survival horror genre almost, is the limited inventory, that you will have only so many items and ways to store items that you not only will have to worry about finding more ammo, but keeping the right ammo on you for when the time requires it. Another thing, as I mentioned, so as bodies will reanimate, there is actually an ability or an option to stop that from happening. So one of the items you get in this game is a kerosene fluid holder and a lighter, and so you can actually set the enemies on fire. However, your kerosene is limited to about I think 4 doses, and so you can only burn roughly 4 enemies at a time, and then you have to go back and refill your jug from, again, a limited resource of kerosene. So you can't do this throughout the entire game and to every enemy, so you have to be pretty selective to who you do it to. Of course, I'm reminded of this opening scene where you're in the hallway and a dog jumps through the window. I don't know what it is. A lot of people have talked about this one scene, how it startled and scared almost everyone who's played it. I think that very specific sound effect they use for the glass breaking is just ungodly loud and very high quality, that it just is sits in everyone's collective memory as the one of the best jump scares ever, or most iconic jump scares. Again, because of the great sound design and the fact that it sounds like a window literally broke right in front of you. Again, something I really appreciate with this game, probably because it is a remake, is that the shadows and certain areas where the fixed camera are make this game look really, really good, really beautiful, and very, very stunning. Of course, this game also introduces the aspect of mixing herbs and other gunpowder to get ammo. And depending on how you mix your herbs with red, green, or blue, and your type of gunpowder, you make different kinds of ammo and different types of herbs for healing and other things like that. Of course, one aspect that helps you manage your inventory is that you have a giant chest in every save room, which you can store almost all your items. And so if you have a key item and you're worried about enemies, you can leave that behind and go out and explore. And again, while this is a very small scale game, because it's the small movements that make the most difference, you have to be careful on how you manage your inventory, your ammo, and your resources. Of course, this game will set up many scenarios where enemies will be hiding right behind you or in certain areas, and there's a lot of atmosphere and tension in this game, which I think is absolutely amazing. Like I said, you can choose between either Jill or Chris to play as. Their stories will differ kind of slightly. Jill, in her case, also, I believe, has less health, but has faster running ability. I'm not actually sure what the main differences are between the two characters, but it's something like a health difference, along with, I think, a slight difficulty. And again, like I said, a slightly different story. This game also includes characters like Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker, and Barry Burton. Throughout the course of the game, you get pistols, shotguns, magnums, grenade launchers, and a slew of other kind of special weapons that make dispatching enemies a lot more fun. Again, it's super rewarding once you clear a floor or you're able to unlock that door that links back to the original lobby, that you feel like you've conquered a huge section and huge swath of the map. And you feel as you progress, even though the odds are kind of against you, you're really making a lot of progress. Again, one of the biggest things that really fights you in this game is honestly the camera, because everything is on a fixed angle. It's sometimes hard to tell what's attacking you at certain times. Also, when enemies are, right in a certain corner or something, you might go into your attack mode and the camera will clip into a different area, and then you'll have to go back, or you might lose sight of what you're seeing. So that can be definitely frustrating. But overall, again, it's about these close quarters situations and the small movements that make the big difference to your playstyle. Again, you also have a knife which you can use for close quarters combat to finish off enemies, and can help you save a lot of ammo. And again, it is very satisfying to pull off headshots in this game. Something else that I really enjoyed in this game was actually the safe room music. I know they kind of had a remix version of it in Resident Evil 4, but the safe rooms in this game are much more significant than 4, because while 4 was kind of like a linear kind of combat action focused kind of thing, the safe rooms here are literally safe rooms. They are a room where no zombies can get you, and where most of the mansion is ambience or lightning from the storm outside that ranges all night long. This is the one area where you can actually feel truly safe, where there's no reanimated corpses and nothing like that, and you can manage your inventory, and the safe room here just feels a lot more significant than in later installments. Another very weird, quirky aspect of this original game is how saving works. Now, you still have a typewriter, the classic typewriter that's pretty much in every Resident Evil game, except for 7 for some reason, because they decided to go for audio recording for some reason, is that while that is the same, what is different is the fact that you have to use ink ribbons in order to save, i.e. meaning that you have a limited number of saves regardless of what difficulty you choose from this game, which I find is very interesting. So if you are a prudent saver who tends to get one item and save and say, okay, I'm one step ahead, you cannot do that in this game. It will technically punish you because you will run out of the ability to save your game, which means you have to take bigger risks for bigger rewards. And it really incentivizes a style of gameplay that that's not unusual to me, but to a new player to this genre, it might be very intimidating to know that they cannot save whenever they want. It's a very interesting restriction to have, and yeah. Again, the only issue I really have with this game is sometimes it's unclear vis-a-vis backtracking. Some doors are, broken, and you're not able to go back through them once you've been through them one way, and then you have to go all the way around anyway. And so I feel backtracking is a little bit tedious in this game, but again, that adds to the whole tension and atmosphere of, oh no, I have to go through this area again and deal with this enemy. Again, this gives you a real feel for the survival horror aspect of the survival horror genre, where again, you have a lot of limited resources, and how you use it in very small, specific, and significant ways will mean life or death, along with your limited save functionality. It's also much more interesting and fun to scavenge for weapons and find things in the environment that you really need. Every time you find something, even if it's a small, defensive dagger, it is a joy. And unlike, the giant AAA games of today where you get a bajillion items to fight a bajillion enemies, you have a very few select amount of items to fight a very few selective enemies, and a very close and congested kind of environment. Again, the one thing I really need to say about this game is that the lighting and the animations are really, really nice. Especially for a game from the early 2000s on the GameCube, it looks really, really well lit, and that's just something we don't really get in games, especially remakes nowadays. It still looks good today, and it's definitely worth a playthrough because it's very, very fun. The game itself is also fairly long, which I think is a nice added bonus, but yeah, I can't think of anything else to really say about this, except this is one of the most classic, perfect, survival horror games that still holds up today, so it's definitely still worth a playthrough. With that being said, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.